Great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for being patient with us today. We apologize for the delay. We welcome you to our weekly meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, the 8th day of December, 2015. We will begin with the invocation, which I will offer. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Sheriff Thompson and our Thought of the Day by Commissioner Bell. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to be here this day and to be about thy work of representing those who we've been elected to serve. We are grateful for this great country and this great land in which we live. We're grateful to be a part of it, and we ask thy continued blessings upon it. Please help us to make wise decisions as we go forward, and that might be in the best interest of all of those whom we represent. We are grateful for this Thanksgiving and Christmas time of year, for the good feelings of tenderness and happiness and joy that it affords us as we have the opportunities to spend time with our families and friends. We pray that we might continue those feelings throughout the entire year as they burn in our hearts and help us to act and be the types of people that we want to be. Father, please bless us as we go forward this day, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Rise and go with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
My thought for today is this. Discussions are always better than arguments, because an argument is to find out who is right, and a discussion is to find out what is right. So there you go.
Good one, Commissioner. Well done. Okay. Well, Commissioner Ebert, did you want to add anything to? I mean, you don't have any rebuttal to that thought of the day?
I am just listening and learning today.
So I've got a rebuttal for it. The key to everything is patience. You get the chicken by hatching the egg, not by smashing it.
I should have just moved right along.
I can keep going.
That's the one Brooke told you not to read.
All right. Okay, great thoughts. I do have one adjustment to the one of the consent items, so I'll go ahead and read them. Item number 1 is the request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $375,422.78. And the adjustment is on this next one, which is the request for approval of warrants number 327552 through 327726 in the amount of $688,000 instead of $68,000. So $688,000, $858, and 90 cents. Request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on December 1st of 2015. Request for approval of new business licenses. Request to set the date of December 22nd, 2015 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to consider and take action on a request ZTA 2015-03 to amend section 101-1-7. Definitions, Title 104, Chapter 29 to the Ogden Valley Destination Recreation Resort Zone. I'm not going to read all the numbers. Architectural, landscape, and screening design standards. Title 108, Chapter 8, Parking and Loading Space, Vehicle Traffic and Access Regulations. Title 108, Chapter 19, and Title 110, Chapter 2, Ogden Valley Signs within the Weber County Land Use Code. Item number 6, request for approval to set the date of December 22nd for a public hearing to discuss amendments to the operating capital budgets of Weber County for the 2015 calendar year. That will be the adoption of the final budget. Request for approval of a request for final approval of Mallard Springs subdivision 21 lots, including a financial guarantee and subdivision improvements in the amount of $397,192.39. This approval also includes the county survey monumentation improvement agreement. Request for approval of an administration application regarding a farm stay and development agreement as part of an approved conditional use permit for an agritourism operation identified as the Dancing Moose Farms and Ecology Center. Request for approval of an administrative application regarding a farm stay and development agreement as part of an approved conditional use permit request for an agritourism operation known as Renaissance Farms. Okay, that looks like the consent items. Commissioners, questions? Hey, Ricky, would you give us a rundown, please?
You bet. So we issued 37 purchase orders this week for $375,000. That can be broken up among the four main categories here. 49%, or $183,000, is for the jail for food services. 15%, or $58,000, went to IT for a sonic wall. 8%, or $30,000, is for the library for books, and 7%, or $26,000, is for the sheriff's office for tasers. We issued 174 checks this week for $689,000. 23% of that, or $158,000, is for public works, and that's about half of that is 12th Street project, and then some Powder Mountain road work. 21%, or $144,000, was for the library, and that was primarily for books as well. 9%, or $64,000, went to corridor preservation, and that was about half of it was for the Skyline project, but there were also 12th Street and 3500 West projects. Another 9%, or $60,000, is for the jail for medical services and other services. 8%, or $52,000, is for the fleet, and that was for the purchase of 2 vehicles. 6%, or $44,000, is for the landfill, and that was for equipment maintenance and other services.
Okay. Any questions on the rundown, commissioners?
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent items as read.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second that we adopt those consent items as read. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. And by the way, I didn't get a chance to thank the sheriff. We appreciate, did he leave us? He left us.
Got a phone call.
It's always, the Pledge of Allegiance is always much more authoritative when the sheriff leads us in it. He did a great job. All right, to our action items. Item number 1 is a request for approval of a right-of-way contract made between Weber County and the following on the 3500 West project. And this one is referring to Glenn and Kelly Nelson. Jared, parcel number 104, anything on this one that might be unique or
Good morning,
different?
Commissioners, and no, nothing that's unique. I think we're starting to get contracts now after we started the resolution that we had from last month. So now we're starting to have more and more people come in and get their contracts finalized. So this is one of them.
Questions, commissioners, or motion?
407.
I'll make a motion. We approve right-of-way contract 407 by and between Weber County and Glenn and Kelly Nelson, parcel 104 for the 3500 West project.
I second it.
Okay, motion and a second then to approve contract number 407. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Item number 2 is the request for approval of a first reading of proposed amended roads ordinance. Jared?
You've got that ordinance in front of you, a very small, simple paragraph, but it addresses a need that we've had for quite some time in general in the county, where if we're acquiring property through an acquisition process and a request for a second appraisal comes up from the resident, that we have the ability to negotiate. The second appraisal is typically $2,500 to $3,500. So if we have the ability to negotiate the funds where we don't have to pay that full amount for the appraisal, and the resident agrees upon that and will sign the contract, that gives us the ability to do that. So we've been working on that for some time, and it'd just be good to see this in the ordinance so we have that ability.
And my understanding is that UDOT has a similar process in place.
Yes, and
This
UDOT,
is kind of a standard.
Yeah, UDOT has the ability to do that with their funds, and we just wanted, with county funds, not with state funds or federal funds, but with county funds, we will also wanted to have the ability to do that. But yes, UDOT currently does do that.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments, commissioners? Okay, motion?
Is this an ordinance?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of the amended road ordinance.
Second it.
Okay, motion and a second then to approve the first reading of this amended road ordinance. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes, so we'll have the final reading on our next agenda. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
And item number 3, I think Douglas is there. There's Douglas. Request for approval of a first reading of an ordinance enacting the county option sales and use tax for highways and public transit authorized by 2015 House Bill 362. Douglas, good to have you with us this morning.
Commissioners, good morning. Pleasure as always. So Utah legislature in 2015 passed House Bill 362, which among other things enacted Utah Code, a section of Utah Code 5912-2219, and authorized counties to impose a new sales and use tax for transportation, 1/4% or 1/4 sales tax. That's essentially 25 cents for every $100. That sales tax is structured specifically that 0.10 would go to the transit authority, 0.10 would be distributed amongst all the cities and the unincorporated, and 0.05 would be distributed to the counties. House Bill 362 is a comprehensive approach to addressing and I'm highlighting part of the funding shortfall identified in Utah's Unified Transportation Plan. The bill reforms the state gas tax, and as well, associated with this ordinance, authorizes a local option transportation sales tax to allow for priority investments in state and local roads, transit, and bike facilities. And will certainly help Utah preserve our current infrastructure and accommodate our projected population growth. So you, as the Board of County Commissioners of Weber County, submitted an opinion question to our voters last November, and that passed the voters muster, if you will. A majority of the voters who voted supported that opinion question, and according to the statute, since they did so, you have to impose this 1/4 sales tax for transportation, which would become effective essentially April 1st of 2016. So we're here for a first reading. Are there any questions you have, gentlemen?
I think it's no questions at all. I'll make a motion if you're ready, Commissioner.
Sure, go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion that we take the first reading for an ordinance enacting the county option sales and use tax for highways and public transit.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second then that we pass the first reading of this ordinance as presented by Mr. Larson. Any further discussion to the motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. We don't need a roll call on the first reading, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we are moving right along. We had a short agenda to begin with today, but we'll move to our next item. I see some folks in the audience that if you would like to comment from the public, this is the opportunity for you to do so. Come on up to the microphone, state your name for the record and where you're from, and then tell us what you have to say.
My name is Sandy Crossland.
Pull that down so that we can hear you, Sandy, okay?
Thank you. My
Thank
name
you.
is Sandy Crossland, and I appreciate the opportunity to make a public comment to you prior to a hearing by the Planning Commission this evening, which is the subject on which I'd like to make a short comment. You have a staff report that will be presented to the Planning Commission. I'm requesting a CUP permit for a private park in Waterfall Canyon. And I wanted to alert you to the fact that there are some problems in the presentation of that report, being a conflict between landowners' right to exclude the public and a public right of prescriptive easement. These two rights actually are parallel rights. They come about concurrently. So it's the job, I think, of your commission, and I believe what you intend to do, to not only respect private property rights, but also to protect public rights. In this case, the landowner purchased this property fully aware of public use and fully aware that public use predated his park venture, and that is noted in the conditional use permit analysis. But the staff, in its summary, review, and recommendation, adopts language saying that the applicant plans to continue to allow non-paying visitors to visit the property. That is a very clear expression of a landowner's right to exclude the public. He does not have to continue. He plans by choice, and the people who are on the property are reduced to non-paying visitors. I think it's very important that you realize that this statement can only be made by extinguishing a prescriptive easement right. In effect, what you actually have is three classes of people who would be using this property. You have his non-paying visitors, his paying clients, and also the general public who are using this property based on the right they claim of prescriptive easement. And I think you're going to create a huge problem when this is presented and the language that has been adopted, used, and part of the analysis that is used by your staff in this report no longer even expresses an interest by the public. And I would recommend that you have them relook at this in light of this information and perhaps change the language to make sure that you do not negate a public right. The right to extinguish a prescriptive easement only happens through a court procedure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. This issue is one that you know, as a public official, we would love to be able to have our planning director come up and explain right now, but it's also one of those that because it's not on our agenda, to have that in this particular forum would probably be inappropriate. And so I would just encourage, let me just say to you, Sandy, your point is heard, and from a personal perspective, I will just say that I think I think it's important that we maintain public right-of-ways, and that's a personal statement, not a discussion for the commission at this point. But I think what I would encourage to have happen is for interested parties to come to Planning Commission tonight, thoroughly hear the perspective of the planning staff, Planning Commission, let this issue, see if there's any education that can take place there, and again, Sandy, as you have done today, make your statement or your position known in that particular forum where this is posted on the agenda and can be discussed appropriately. I think that they my opportunity to interact with them, I think that the Planning Commission will be extremely open to hearing those concerns. So appreciate you bringing that up.
So just one thing is, sitting in front of you happens to be our planning director, and if you wanted to grab him after, you and him can talk all day long. So he can help explain a lot of things to you.
Well, we do have a few other things for him to do today, but nothing as important.
Not as important as that.
So,
that is a concern. If the language in there that a state's non-paying somehow supersedes or negates the prescriptive easement that you're talking about, that would be something, again, we're concerned about. So if you want to spend some time tonight at that meeting, and we'll, again, talk to legal to make sure that that's not what is occurring, because everything we've talked about, that hasn't been something that we're supporting as far as the public access. So,
okay. Any other comments?
Thank you.
chance for a public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to our next item on the agenda, and that is that we assign the Pledge of Allegiance and the Pledge of Allegiance. Anybody like to volunteer for that at our next meeting? Paige, you just got pointed at. Did you know that, or you were looking the other direction? All right, Paige will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll move to our last item, which is the request for a motion to, for a closed session to discuss strategy relating to pending or imminent litigation and strategy relating to the purchase or sale of property.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion to that motion? Okay.
Commissioner Ebert,
Aye.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Chair Gibson.
Aye. The motion passes. We'll be in our closed meeting, and we'll be back out to officially adjourn our meeting when we're done.